Hello my lovelies, it's Silk here and we are on about, well, I think day 9, day 10 of the new season server in War and Over. And there's been a lot happening this week, and not least of which is something to do with this lovely graphic behind me, and I'll just probably hide my ugly mug so you can have a better look at that. Isn't that a thing of beauty? That is just awesome, isn't it? That's going to be a land-based Nova that the devs might be looking at. We'll talk a little bit more about that a bit later on and how the devs are really kind of getting more into the game. But first up, I probably want to go in and we're going to go and have a quick look at the game as it stands at the moment and what we're up to. You know that time where you think you've really kind of stuffed something up and you just know it, but you're going to do it anyway? This is one of those moments. I have brought over here my Machiner, it's my new toy, to try and take on a Star Weaver. And, you know, sometimes you just don't quite get things right. Well, have I looked at my Machiner thinking, yeah, it can take on a Star Weaver? Well, stupidly, I've only got hold of it recently and thought I'll level it up, and I leveled it up with some chimeras and forgot to put the Cyclops on before I sent it out. And what else could possibly go wrong? I thought that it might have something that negates healing, and no, actually it doesn't. I got that mixed up with something else, and really my Star Weaver which is coming in, which I absolutely love. I love Star Weavers, whoever they belong to. They're great ships, but they do have some minor issues. And I was hoping to kind of counter this with something that negates healing. Unfortunately, I got that a bit wrong. So we're going to go in, we're going to attack it anyway, just for the sheer hell of it, because I'm sure as hell not waiting forever for my own Star Weaver to come down here. So we're just going to go in. We don't have initiative on it. It's going to beat us in initiative. I've already seen a scout report on it. And absolutely, I am probably going to die. And we've got incoming. We deserve it. People send you to try and take crossing versus clearing. Yeah, we're not doing so well at the moment with our clearance activities. Personally, I've been out pathing for the last 2 days, and I'm bored as heck. And so was I just going to sit here with the Machiner and go, no, there's no way I can take this? Yeah, nah, I'm going in there. Let's see what happens. And we're landing in, how long is it now? A few more seconds perhaps, and we will find out just how doomed I am. Will this death even be glorious, or will it be pointless? Let's give it a go and we'll see. Probably I'm picking a draw, maybe, hopefully, at least. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Oh my word. Oh my word indeed. We actually nailed it. I've got no idea how that happened. Let's have a look, shall we? Let's go in and see. Oh my gosh. That was spectacular. I've got no idea how we managed to do that. I'm really sorry, Sado. I was not expecting that at all. And how we managed to do that? Just pre-battle turns. I think probably it's something to do with my officers. I've got an officer on there that reduces the damage by 50%. Let's just have a look at the ships first, shall we? That'd probably be the sensible thing to do. Oh, I see. He's got it loaded out for full healing. Personally, if you're watching this, my recommendation, Shadow, would be, or anyone else who's got this, just pop at this level, sort of 31. Put something in here on Life Giver, and put something here on the random debuff and recovering 120 hit points. This one only comes around 7, 8, 9 and 10, so it's not really worth it at lower levels. And put everything into this energy damage, and which then turns into radiation damage. That's going to do you a lot better. So there we go. We did a lot better than I expected, to be honest. Chimera's up against, it wasn't Morning Stars, it was Warhammers, that's why. Okay, so we did all right there. Not too unhappy about that one. Quite surprised. And now we've got to actually go and clear up all this mess. And to be honest, people look at this and they go, oh no, Tile Wars. 90% of this game is Tile Wars. You know, anyone can come in and play this game. It doesn't matter what ships you've got. You can come in and do exactly what is being done here right now. And that is just spamming out those red tiles, and they're incredibly difficult to get rid of. Let's just go in and have a look here. Really, this is something that should have been cleaned up. As the boss has said down here, we should have done this bloody days ago, but unfortunately there's some activity levels suffering. And hey, if you're in CMPS out there and you're sitting around somewhere else on the map, this is where you need to be. Unless you've been given orders to do something else like pathing and whatever else, you need to be up here, and we need to be taking these red tiles out. There is no excuse for this. In all credit to Neon, who are absolutely playing a blinder to keep us actually occupied down in this corner. It's a nightmare when you're in this situation and you haven't got enough people coming on, and Neon have obviously got those people. I know they had a few issues, I think, earlier on in the week. Certainly they decided to attack us originally over somewhere right over here in the borderlands of Calibri. Let's just scoot over there. We had set up all nicely just up here and kind of left it at that, really. And I think they just sort of said, yeah, you know, we can hold there. Neon wanted to go to war, so we went, yep, okay, we'll do that. And a few days later, and we've actually taken Calibri from them. And I suspect we're probably just going to sit at this crossing here and offer them the same deal. Entirely up to them. We'll just see how it goes, and we may end up just doing crossing wars. They have had some good fights, I think, with Ograx recently, perhaps. I'm not sure if that's still on the map or not. So let's just skim over. Yeah, they've been having a great blast down here. To the Ograx groups, and Val and Neon now. They must have done quite well here, because certainly EPLS have got a few phenomenally well spent players who really know what they're doing. So good on them there. That's a good battle. But the real news of the week, I think, in this server has been the battles between Omega and Eldarin. I've got to say, I'm quite jealous, really. They've been going at it hammer and tongs down here. Look at the size of this conflict duration: 14 hours, 8,200 strike craft views, almost 5,500 of them lost. I mean, they must be having a great time down here. Unfortunately, you know, I'm sitting here and I've been bloody pathing to Hyperion, which seems to be the longest, widest region in the entire map, and not really having a chance to get involved. But let's see who owns what. So Eldarin have got through here. Who hits is gay. Okay, all right. Well, I'll come and hit you. I'm not gay, but you know, I don't mind bending that way for anyone. We can. Don't know what all this issue is. I mean, maybe it's 6 years old or something. Who knows? But look at this setup here from Omega. This is stunningly good. This is brilliant organisation. The number of people they have managed to get over here at this setup, and all kudos to Eldarin, who are going in with just somewhat fewer players, and I think both of these are ex-Rise to War groups. I suspect some of these guys must be quite stacked up to have got in here and gone round here, but you know, the numbers are telling at the moment. Let's see how far out. Eldarin have kind of got all the way out to around here. It looks like Omega are pushing back. We can see these lines. There's movement. This is going on 24/7. This is what we live for. This is what we live for. Not silly little crossing wars that are not really going anywhere, like the ones we've got up here, and you know, having to do clearance and so on. But it is an essential part of the game. We kind of need to get our heads around that. So shortly we're going to just have a quick look through the various patch notes and what was in those this week. Some of the information from the development team. You can see me here. Gosh, I hope they don't spawn new players into this area, or I'm going to lose half my resource. That is a bit of an issue. We could easily go in and take this capital city here if we wanted to, and just send. Basically what would happen then is anyone that we relocate from here is going to go out onto this island at the back here, which has only got a one-way crossing to come out of, and we just have to keep them sort of pinned in there. Now that wouldn't be much fun for any new players spawning in, and I think we kind of erring on the side of actually not taking that, and we'll just play it as it comes. I would say we might have someone to fight against, but quite honestly we would need to leave them well alone for the next 2 weeks for them to actually be able to get up to speed. It would be really useful to know if they're going to open any new servers soon instead of pumping everyone into here. I doubt it at this stage. I think they're still looking at maybe a soft launch a bit later on. Tasks might come in and have a chat about that at some point, in the one of the discords. I know it's in most groups' discords. If you haven't got him in, you've got a big Discord server attached to your group and you haven't got tasks in there, do hit him up when you see him in game. Does come into these chats here and chats a lot. Don't know, it was in there more recently. It might have probably gone now. I think some of these guys scared him off. It's quite lively, that global chat. Anyway, I'm just going to take a brief pause there, and then I just put together a piece about the patch notes and also about that funky, lovely picture that we had there, because what's coming up might be something where we can toggle between a space and land mode, which might entice more of your mates from Rise to War, if you people who have come across from there, to actually come over. Lots of people don't like the idea of the space game, but there's some truly beautiful graphics going on around maybe toggling in a land-based version of the game, which runs on exactly the same server. You just pick the theme that you want, and I guess perhaps they might change the ship names to people's names, and the people might be wearing gear rather than ships having officers on them, and might make it very similar and easy to adapt to, I guess, for some of the more sort of traditional land-based war gamers. Anyway, we'll have a look at that in just a sec for you, and I'm going to have a quick cup of tea for me. And so we're back, and as promised we will have a quick look at the patch notes. About an hour or so, maybe a bit more has passed here. It's got a little bit more chilly down under. It's going into the night time now, and had my nice cup of tea, and obviously been playing for a bit, and we have actually, it's good news to report, finally cleared up this little area here down on our border with Vanguard. I think that's Vanopia Quadrant over there. So we are now at stalemate at the crossing, and we'll wait to see what happens. I'll probably nothing much in the next hour or two. I'll be off to bed, and we'll wake up in the morning, and hopefully it's still going to look a little bit like that, although ideally with a few more of our outposts on here. Now we'll go and look at the patch notes. In order to do that, let's just sort of go through and have a look at the various ships and strike craft that have been updated. For the strike craft, we're just going to hop in here because the first item on the patch notes was a bit of a nerf to our friend the Harpy, and there was understandably a bit of an uproar about this in-game chat channels and also in some of the discords. And the reason for that is that basically the follow-up chance used to be 100% chance for follow-up on this second chance ability, and that's now been reduced at the maximum level down to 60% chance to gain follow-up. And you might sort of wonder what the uproar is about, apart from the fact its damage has now been reduced from 180 to 202 down to 148 to 161. Now yes, the Harpy is an absolute beast, but the reason people are upset is because they would have wanted to have seen other strike craft brought up to the same standard, and for sure used with the right ships and so on, the Harpy was actually going to nuke out significant amounts of damage in its first turn. But unless it had something that gives it initiative, it was never actually going to go first in that first turn with an initiative of 80, which is one of the lowest points in the game for a tier 3 ship. And it would potentially suffer significant damage before it actually got its shots out, losing a large amount of its actual strike craft because its health is only 675 and the defense is a meager 120. So those are some of the worst stats in the game. It's got a speed of 62. It's not exactly fast across the battlefield either. So there's that much that's gone on there, and also players had just actually got to the stage where they were starting to recruit these things. So obviously, everything they've recruited overnight has kind of gone by the wayside. It didn't really need that kind of nerf, in my opinion, and some people disagree. I understand that, that's their right, but in my view we should not be nerfing really anything down but bringing things up. And yes, that should be able to hoe through a capital ship, through a tank unit, the Cyclops or the Morningstar, because that's exactly what it's designed to do. It's not very durable. and it can be taken out easily, and as I've mentioned already, it's got low initiative, so it can be taken out reasonably early. Capital ships are always going to go first. The Morning Star and the Cyclops are only taking on standard attacks, not skill attacks, so if you're up against Harpies, all you need is something that's biffing out some damage in the first turn, and that you're going to nail them. Equally, if you're up against, say, don't know, something like the Tyrannus Inquisitor, let's just go and have a quick look at that. And that will always be targeting the ship. So it's damage received. They're targeting the ship with the lowest defense, which is almost certainly going to be a Harpy if you're up against them. So you've got a direct counter there. It's got an initiative of 120. So it's piling that out, and its damage is 192 to 230. Now, bear in mind it takes 2 command points, so you can halve that. But you're going to lose a significant amount of your Harpies to this Tyrannus Inquisitor already before you get the shot off. So there are already counters to that. It's just a case of knowing and understanding them. Now, there's a certain element that's been explained to me that the reason for doing this with the Harpy is because those who know how to use them are going in and completely wiping out some people's ships, and one assumes they're people who have spent a significant amount of money in the game already, and perhaps might have been whaled out in Lord of the Rings, Rise to War, or other games before they came in here. They're not quite used to being on the losing end of things. Well, yeah, okay, I know we want those people to stay. I get that. So for now it's been nerfed down, but the dev team, in particular Tasks, has mentioned that they're open to actually improving it up a little bit as they rebalance things as they go along, and this is all, frankly, is a natural part of the early sort of 6 months, I guess, of a new game. So we're going to kind of have to get used to that, I suppose. So that's the reason for the uproar. It's the fact that we don't want to see everything just kind of nailed down to a common denominator, and we've now been assured that that's not going to happen, and this may even be only a temporary nerf to the Harpy. It may in fact go up again. And now, one of the other things that's come out of this and through the patch notes we'll know is that we've had an adjustment to the Eldarin Guardian, and the actual patch notes, and I'm just going to bring them up to the side so I can remember what they were. So the twin guns fixed an issue where it was causing the ability to trigger erratically. Always like something that says erratically, that's a great word. Adjusted the proc chance to reflect the state of second chance, which is the Harpy one. So they're now both running at 60% chance when you get up to the full level 10. So that's a good thing, because that actually makes this Guardian, it used to be at a lower proceed chance, that's actually making that significantly better. And bear in mind that this thing does get, I think, something up to about 70 or 80, maybe even 90% chance to evade the first attack, so that's pretty solid. And this thing is also going to go off before a Harpy with an initiative of 100. It has much higher health, so it's more durable. So this actually has become a far more viable and relevant strike craft to use instead of the Harpy. And in fact, I know certainly Randy, fellow YouTuber, it's one of his favourites, so he's over the moon. So good on you, and I'm going to be giving them a try myself, I think. So moving away from that, I think the remainder of these were patch note items were to the capital ships. So we're going to go in and have a quick look at those next, and we're looking, I think, first up at Mjolnir. It's first up on the list, and we'll go into his tech tree. Let's just pull up the patch notes again at the side. Suppression fixed an issue with the modifier. So let's just quickly find suppression in here. There we go. So the first 4 rounds against all enemies, damage dealt reduced 1%, effect modified by elemental stat. I don't know if that was being overcooked or undercooked. I'm not using this ship at the moment. There's quite a few people have decided to have a play with it and to see where it goes. So I've kind of left it alone. There's other people covering this. It does look really interesting, and I'm looking forward to using it myself. There's this max level bonus of 3 allied units evade the first instance of damage received in battle. Now, while we're on the subject of that evasion, there is evasion all over the show in this game, and not a great deal of pursuit. In other words, something that ignores evasion. There are some officers that do that. In fact, certainly one of the Epic Ogrex officers, support officers, I believe, has the ability to evade for the to ignore evasion for the first 3 rounds of the battle, so that's pretty handy. There are 1 or 2 ships that ignore evasion, and a few skills that are impossible to evade, so there are some counters to it, but there are apparently some issues, certainly in the testing environment, with just how powerful evasion can be. So we're just going to have to kind of wait and see what happens in that space. The team are looking into evasion, so if you're worried or wondering why things like Paladins evade has not been fixed yet, there are some reasons behind that. And the same with a lot of these sort of bugs and glitches and so on. It's a case of actually, do we fix it now or do we adjust something else, or what have we adjusted previously to cater for the fact that wasn't working properly, and do we need to wind the clock back on it? And these are all discussions that have been had predominantly out in the open between the development team and players. So it's great that we actually get that opportunity to have those conversations. The next one was Astaroth Full Advantage, where it adjusts the ability to activate during pre-battle and removed its duration. Now this is a really kind of odd and strange one, because there's actually a more significant problem, significant problem with this, in that Full Advantage means that enemy strike craft that are stunned or confused damage received plus 10%, so that'll go up to plus 100%, and that will be for the entire duration of the battle. The only issue with this, of course, is that the only singular skill that the Astaroth has that can stun enemy units is this ambush here, and that is only for the first 2 rounds. There is not a single skill, and we will just go through to show you, that actually gives a stun against any enemy units other than for those first 2 rounds. So really this skill here is essentially only coming into contact or coming into play in those first 2 rounds, unless you happen to have officers that were the epic officers that either confuse or stun the opposition. And in fact, I think this is only, it is stunned or confused, so they will receive extra damage, but you need epic officers to make the most of this, and there are a couple of them that do actually put out a stun or confusion every second turn to 1 or 2 capital ships, strike craft. So used in Astaroth used in conjunction with those officers, it's going to be quite handy. But if you don't have them available to you, then really Astaroth is kind of a bit of a dud, to be perfectly honest, or certainly that skill there is. We've also then got the Dominus. Now Dominus has had a fix to its Death Eater skill, I believe it is, so let's just go through. I haven't actually bothered with my Dominus. I think it's probably somewhere down the bottom here too much this season. I'm only just got him. Don't intend to use him too much. He really comes into his own at sort of mastery level 5 to be any good. So let's just pick up this skill. Where was it? Pain tolerance, Death Eater here. Tyrannus strikecraft damage received minus 2%. So the actual fix was to include all damage instead of just standard damage. So apparently that used to be that it was only the standard damage, which is the first standard attack from a capital ship or any of the attacks from strikecraft. It's now actually reducing damage for all incoming damage by minus 2 going to minus 20%. So that's a pretty good fix for the Dominus. I'm not entirely convinced that it needed a fix. Certainly it's an absolute beast at mastery level 5 and above when those tier 3 abilities come open. So that sort of capital ship normal attack damage plus 4%. First year as well, strike craft damage plus 150%. That will be modified by leadership, and with the chance to gain follow-up. So that's a beast as it is. And now certainly if you're pairing that up with some Tyrannus strike craft, they're getting sort of 20% damage reduction. So that is quite remarkable. But obviously, why is it prioritized? Well, there's big money going into the Dominus, so you got to look after your paying players, I suppose. Kraken Hidden Dagger fixed an issue with the healing not triggering properly. Kraken, where are we? Where's my Kraken? There he is. I'm quite fond of the Kraken. I mean, everyone has him for the mining ability here. But is actually, if you learn how to actually skill them up properly, it's not a bad ship at all. And we're just going to look for, there we go, Hidden Dagger. So we've got capital ship 25% chance of gaining 10% damage, plus 10% damage. When I unit 10% chance to recover 10 at maximum. Okay, never mind. So fixed an issue with the healing not triggering correctly. So that healing there wasn't triggering correctly. There we go. When you've only got a 10% chance to recover 10% on damage dealt, I mean, it's hardly noticeable, really, is it? It's kind of negligible. And then the final one we've got is the Assassin with a reduction, fixed an issue with target prioritization. So we're just going to have to quickly zip out of here, and I'm trying desperately to remember where the Assassin actually sits within the tree and who it belongs to. So just bear with me one sec. So the Assassin is the next level down from the Inquisitor. So Tyrannus Assassin is here. And standard attacks prioritise enemies with the lowest defense. Not entirely sure why they've got that noted down as for the Assassin, because that skill is reduction. Isn't that the same as the Inquisitor's skill? Isn't that reduction as well? Yeah, so if they fixed it for the Assassin, one assumes it's fixed for the Inquisitor too, where it prioritises enemies with the lowest defense. I kind of thought it was doing that already. So what was the actual fix? Fixed an issue with target prioritisation. Don't really understand how that's only with the Assassin and not the Inquisitor. So that's just that. That one I think we'll just leave as a bit of a mystery. So that's the patch notes gone through. I think, you know, long shot, short story is that Guardians are now looking pretty good. Harpies are not looking quite so good. Tough to pick between the two. Guardians will go first in a combat, but not put out quite as much damage. I still think now that Inquisitors are looking increasingly solid. They put out a decent amount of damage. They will target the Harpies. That's what they've always been there for. Astaroth had a bit of a fix, which is of no great consequence whatsoever, unless you happen to have officers that you can use with it. Mjolnir, yeah, fixed an issue with the modifier, great. And Dominus, oh, okay, so the best ship in the game has just got a little bit better. Great. Kraken, Hidden Dagger, fixed issue with the healing not triggering, which is kind of negligible as a whole. So not a lot to write home about, and you know, possibly something to cry about, but obviously the devs will carry on doing their testing in the testing environment and hopefully balancing things up and fixing a few more skills as they go. And now we get on to my little pet project for the next few weeks, and it is actually this one here, that is the Omen. And there's a reason I got here, and I'm going to explain it a little bit, and that is because of this slot here in the support. I can basically field 2 sets of epic officers across my ships, and I'm just going to look at this one, and we're going to go and have a quick look at the Hammerhead. And normally I would set up in here in my Hammerhead a number of different officers. I got 4 nice matching purple ones. I'll see where I've got them at the moment. I'll just play around. So I've got the Hammerhead here. Now I would normally pop this one here in, and there's a couple of others we're going to go through here. Oh, I do so hate this. I want to do 1 click, please. 1 click to change my officers there. Devs, if you can do 1 quality of life update, it would be just give me a click for a certain set of officers that I can put in. And now we're going to pop in Elfarian, so it's a chance to do some extra physical damage. We'll take him off the Moonveil. Not quite sure why I had him on there. It's probably just a bit of a workaround at the time. And we've got Sarah here, who's got good power and gives me great extra ship initiative, so we'll put that in there. And then we've got our healing officer, and we have got Lightning. Now we got 2 healing officers. We've got Lightning and we've got Elizabeth. Now, the main difference here is that Elizabeth we can use on any ship, and Lightning we are restricted to Universal, Terra, Vanguard, Stoner or Tyrannus ships. So I kind of wanted to pick a ship that would fit that bill. And what do we get? We got Omen. It's a Universal ship, so that means that we can use Lightning on it. So I wanted to be able to use that full set of officers across here, but particularly it's determined by my 2 healing officers. So I've got a number of ships that can use and run out with Elizabeth on it. I've got only 2 other ships that I'm really sort of leveling up for PvP that can use that, and that would be the Hammerhead and the Corruptor. So my Hammerhead's doing quite well. We've been using that for some PvE. It's great for early PvE, not quite as good as Sunder and Starweaver, but hence it's up there at level 44. I've sort of focused on taking a resource tiles with that one and managed to get that up reasonably well. But we can't use Lightning on the Widow, and we can't use it on the Sunder because they're both Arcus. We can't use it on the Starweaver, which is legendary, or the Machina, which is Omega. That's a new one for me this season, playing around with that. Had quite a good result earlier on against that Starweaver, but I wasn't really skilled that well, so not sure how much of a result it was. We're looking forward to playing with that some more. But this Omen, I kind of picked that, and I wanted something that I had at a low mastery level so that I can sort of give some pointers to people who have only just got it, and sort of go into the tech tree. And I'm really just going to play with this and see where we can get to. I've plonked here for far reaching, so it deals 300% energy damage on round 5. That's less than ideal, not having your big damage going out until then, but the reason for doing that was because I wanted to pick up this skill that does its damage in round 1, so it deals 200% energy damage and the target can't recover hit points for 1 round. So I'm kind of hoping that I might be able to go up against maybe a Moonveil or a Starweaver or something that relies on its healing, and use that against them. And we're dealing out energy damage or elemental damage. In fact, does that say it deals through oh, it is energy damage modified by elemental in that round. And so it's dealing out a reasonable bit of damage, and it's also got this thing here that enemy capital ship damage dealt, that'll go up to minus 20%, and that triggers on round 1. So if I can get the initiative jump on, say, a Cypher, I wonder, just wonder how well this might go. Probably not, because of just the sheer amount of damage and the way in which the damage calculations are glitched on the Cypher. It probably won't do so well. But anyway, all enemy strike craft damage dealt extra but receive some energy damage, so they'll do at top level their damage bonus is reduced to 3%, and they'll be taking 30% energy damage continuous each round. So that's kind of okay. Probably difficult to evade all of that. First 2 rounds, Ograk, Strikecraft and Argos, 8% or 80% chance to evade all damage on rounds 1 and 2. Well, that's fantastic. We like that. We like that a lot. And I talked about evasion earlier, so I kind of hope it works on this craft. I'm going to be playing around with these skills a little later on, probably in the next vid. And what else do we have? Enemy Strikecraft damage dealt minus 20%. So all in all, it doesn't do a huge amount of damage itself. It's going to be reliant on its Strikecraft. So we've really got to try and fiddle with the right Strikecraft in here and the officers to get a solid build for that. So I'm going to have a look at that in a future episode. This is what we're kind of focusing on, and we'll start playing around with some blue officers in there and seeing how well it goes, and then I'll put my epic officers on there and take it into combat and see if we can pick a few fights with someone and see if we can get a few wins. I'm not expecting miracles, but I do like to try and pick on something and see if we can extract the best out of it. So that's all on that one, and then we'll finish off now by going and having a quick look at some of those lovely visuals that we started out with. So here we go. This is in the War of Nova Discord. If you're not in it, go hunt for it. I'm not sure if we can actually get a link up. We've tried before, I believe, but we'll see. No, that's hidden. So you're just going to need to go and hunt for that one. And it's different to the Revolving Games one over here, which just has a section for Nova just kind of hoofed away at the bottom. So do hunt for that if you're really into the game. Anyway, in here we do have the dev team in here that come in and chat with us and sort of have a look at and basically talk to players about what's going on. It's predominantly tasks, but Odin and NeoGeek I think are in here too. NeoGeek tends to be more active over in the Revolving Games Discord as far as I can see. But they've come up and they've said basically they've got works in progress for different fantasy map views. Could be possible to explore multiple options like an evil Mordor view or flowing rivers instead of sky. And the general gist of this is that they want to provide two different options for players in terms of how they view the game. The actual mechanics underlying it won't change, but the names of all the ships, and instead of having planets you might have capital cities, I guess, and all of that will actually change, which for a YouTuber is going to make honestly, it's going to make our job a bit of a nightmare. But there we go. So we'll need to talk about, hey, Astaroth and whatever the land-based name is for the person that is there, and is that going to be a he or a she? Because all ships are she, aren't they? So it brings up some interesting discussions, and we looked at that one a little bit earlier. What else we got? Oh, that's the same, but I just sort of they played around with it a bit. I mean, it really is quite beautiful, floating rocks in the sky. Fantastic. Now that makes our work certainly covering this a bit harder, and it makes it a bit harder for people to chat with one another in Discord chats and so on, because nobody really knows who you're referring to. So that might be an issue that I can see. The other one is I hope it doesn't kind of make the battery glow even hotter and the battery run down even faster by having to compute various different things at the same time. So there are probably some things they're going to have to work through on this, and it may not actually transpire that happens. I suspect at the moment, with the current crowd inhabiting the game, most are going to plop for the fantasy scene, having played Rise to War as land-based for a long time and not finding it easy to get to grips with the space genre. But unfortunately, also that the flip side to that is there are a lot of sort of space games out there, or sci-fi based games out there, that do really, really well, and that is a very popular sort of genre too. So where we go with this, I don't know. It's just exciting to see the different ideas that the team are coming up with. They certainly want to draw more players in, which road they go down. As the toggle it option, or just the land-based, or just the space-based, who knows? But looking forward to seeing what they're going to be doing in that space. They're always coming in with their ideas. They're always asking for new ideas. If you don't have them, if you've got a large guild Discord and you want to have them in there, just find tasks and hit them up in either in this War of Nova Discord or in the game, and I'm sure he'll oblige and come in and have a chat with you and share some ideas that the team have got, and see what sort of things the players are suggesting as well. Overall, I'm still very, very much impressed with the game, and I've got to say that really it's a sea change from everything I've seen before. They're really working hard, and yes, they scare the living bejeebus out of us now and again with some of these nerfs and things, but then turn around and say, hey, actually, this might just be temporary. We've seen the sort of pushback. Actually, we're hearing the reasons why people don't think this is a good idea, and we'll go away and have another think about that. And you can't say fairer than that. So thank you to the devs. Thank you to everyone else who's actually watching this. Ka kite, goodbye.